Hey, what's happening, guys? Mike from MetaComix coming at you again with another comic book review. Today we're going to be talking about Batman Eternal number 11. So before we get into my actual thoughts on the book, let's talk about the story. Do a little recap here for you. The comic opens at Gotham Cemetery during a hellacious thunderstorm, and we see a woman standing at a gravestone. She opens up a letter, and she starts to read it. Then we're whisked away to Brazil, where a Batgirl has tracked down Gonzalo Dominguez, who's some sort of Spanish soap opera star, who she believes was involved in the plot to derail the train in Gotham that sent her pops, Jim Gordon, to the big house. Batgirl, who is, as you know, Barbara Gordon, is duking it out with Scorpiana, who is this assassin sent by the Club of Villains to dispatch Gonzalo because he's no longer of use to the club. So Batgirl, Scorpiana, they fight for a bit, and then Scorpiana puts on this really creepy friggin' like bug helmet boa thing, and I don't know, the stuff with Scorpiana, Batgirl, and Gonzalo just gets weirder and weirder after that. Next, we move to Gotham, where Julia and Alfred Pennyworth are conversing for a little bit, and we discover that there is indeed a rift between father and daughter. Father-daughter relationships is a huge central focus and theme of this particular issue, so it was good to actually see some more of this dynamic in this relationship between Alfred and Julia covered here. Julia seems to be pushing herself too hard to try to get better, to get back out on the streets, back to work. She ends up bleeding all over the floor from her wounds, needing medical attention from dear old dad, who's kind of used to this sort of thing by now from taking care of Bruce Wayne. We then meet up with Stephanie Brown, the daughter of Cluemaster, in the Gotham Library, doing research on her pops, trying to understand a bit about what makes him tick. She watches this tape recording of a game show hosted by Cluemaster, in which this creepy clown chick makes a rather crude joke about the size of Bruce Wayne's schlong. It was a little awkward. Cluemaster lays the verbal smackdown on this lady and basically implodes on national television. Then we go back to Brazil, where Gonzalo's running through thick throngs, that's throngs, not thongs, of thick, scantily clad females looking for a place to hide from Scorpiana. Batgirl catches up with him, shoves him in a room, and starts questioning him about the train. Turns out the Club of Villains used some type of what he called steel insects to crawl all throughout his skull, so they could basically create a lifelike mask of the dude and basically set him up as sort of a patsy. Apparently he owed them money, and they considered that one way for him to pay off his debt. Just outside the room, while that conversation is going on, Scorpiana has, finally found Gonzalo and Batgirl, so she's moving in for the kill. The story then goes back to Wayne Manor, and all the heated father-daughter drama with Julia and Alfred kind of gives way to a little bit of tenderness. They start to kind of bond and connect. Alfred tells her that Bruce wants Falcone out of the city, so he's offered her the manor as her base of operations, with his resources at her disposal, including Alfred and his skills. Then back at the Gotham Library, Stephanie Brown continues to unravel the origin story of Cluemaster, which includes this gnarly drawing of Stephanie as a little kid catching Batman giving her dad a knuckle sandwich, which, when she sees him, he looks like a monster. He doesn't look like Batman, because that's the way she perceives it as a kid. It was pretty crazy. Now we zoom back into Brazil again, in time to see some action between Batgirl and Scorpiana before she bails out the window, taking Gonzalo with her. She loses her grip. Gonzalo is rescued by Starfire's spaceship plane deal, and El Gaucho, the Batman of Argentina, takes care of business with Scorpiana. Batgirl is then confronted on the roof by Jason Todd, who's aka the Red Hood that Batman has commissioned to kind of keep an eye on her and make sure she doesn't do anything stupid. The issue closes where it began, at the Gotham City Cemetery, with the woman at the grave reading the letter, which we find out it's Selina Kyle, and the letter's from her pops, saying he loves her, wants to find her, but he knows he's a screw up, blah blah blah. Batman shows up and the two have a conversation where Bats expresses a little bit of concern for Catwoman, and she says, "I don't have a daddy and don't need one now," going full tilt on the daddy issues. Okay, now, here's what I really liked about this issue. This issue has a really good story. The pacing is pretty good, especially for someone who's got ADHD like me. There's a lot of cuts and jumps between action and stuff, so it kind of keeps the story interesting. I really love the theme of father-daughter relationships in here. There seems to be a lot of comic books lately addressing the issue of fathers and their children, and in various ways. Like, you got Cyclops, new series over at Marvel. It's kind of doing that exploration of father-son relationships, and then this issue and a lot of the stuff with Batman exploring father-daughter dynamics, which I thought was really cool. I really liked seeing the bonding between Alfred and Julia, and the fact that it takes place over her mission to want to rid the world of evil people like Falcone. And that's kind of the same thing that bonded him to Bruce Wayne as an adult, is the mission. Cluemaster's backstory in this was really good, and there was some good drama as his daughter begins to kind of understand more about what makes him tick, what makes him who he is. That stuff was really good. Now for the bad. There wasn't a lot of bad in this issue, but what was bad almost completely just destroyed this issue for me, and that was the art. Man, the art is just terrible. It's not the kind of style at all. Not a fan of it at all. People looked chunky, but in an unnatural way. There was lots of bug eyes. Things looked out of proportion. Art made the book very difficult to read. I don't know what the deal was with it. That just the style was it was awful. And there was not a whole lot of Batman in this issue. He's in there for less than 2 pages, maybe even less than that. While the story is interesting enough that you don't necessarily miss him being in it, having a book called Batman Eternal, it's always nice to have just a little bit more Batman. But other than that, that wasn't too bad. The other thing was the Gonzalo guy. He was maddeningly annoying. He was just atrociously annoying. But overall, the story was very solid. It was well thought out. It was entertaining. The art was not my thing. Again, I thought that was horrible, and it was so distracting. It detracted from my overall enjoyment of the issue so much that I have to give this issue a 7.5 out of 10. I don't know. The art was just a big problem for me. All right, guys, that's what I thought of the issue. It's pretty decent story so far going through Batman Eternal. This issue is not as strong with the art, so that may turn off a lot of people, but the story itself is really good, and you're kind of missing out if you don't read it just for the story. So that's my thoughts on that, guys. Make sure you stay tuned because I got more comic reviews coming.